This week on Unapologetic Uplift.
Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. You can't outrun your pain. You can medicate it, suppress it, drink it, scroll past it, manifest around it, and spiritually bypass it, but you cannot delete it. And the wild thing, trying to escape it is what causes the suffering, not the pain itself. Western medicine has one primary objective: eliminate the symptom, get rid of the pain, return to function. And the problem with that is pain is not the enemy. Pain is the messenger. Pain that is felt is moved. Pain that is avoided is stored. Welcome to Unapologetic Uplift. I am your host, Kim Staples. What if everything you've been taught about healing is wrong? What if the very thing Western medicine, wellness culture, and even your own nervous system has been trained to do, avoid pain, numb it, fix it fast, get back to a baseline, is the exact thing keeping you stuck? I've been sitting with a thought for a while now. One of the hardest, most uncomfortable, most liberating things I've ever had to learn, especially living with CPTSD. And yeah, I said it. I hate labels, but sometimes a label is just a map, and I needed a map. Today we're going somewhere most people don't want to go. We're going toward the pain, and I promise you, there's something on the other side. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. You can't outrun your pain. You can medicate it, suppress it, drink it, scroll past it, manifest around it, and spiritually bypass it, but you cannot delete it. And the wild thing, trying to escape it is what causes the suffering, not the pain itself, the avoidance of the pain. Let me say that again, because it took me a long time to actually believe it. Our suffering comes from the attempt to avoid pain, not from the pain. Life is going to life. That's just the deal. No amount of healing, consciousness work, therapy, green juice, or positive affirmation is going to make you exempt from hardship, loss, grief, betrayal, or darkness. We are human. Struggle is part of the contract. But there is a difference, a huge, everything difference, between pain and suffering. Pain is the thing that happens. Suffering is what we create when we refuse to let pain move through us. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. That is a quote by Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell, the legendary mythologist, spent his life studying the hero's journey across thousands of cultures and thousands of years. And every single one of those stories, the hero has to go into the darkness. There is no story. There is no transformation without the descent. We've been trying to skip the descent, and it's making us sicker. Now, I want to be careful here. I'm not anti-medicine. I'm not saying there's no place for pain management. There absolutely is. We're not talking about someone in the acute aftermath of surgery, refusing anesthesia in the name of growth. But as a cultural default, as the dominant paradigm for mental, emotional, and even physical health, Western medicine has one primary objective: eliminate the symptom, get rid of the pain, return to function. And the problem with that is pain is not the enemy. Pain is the messenger. There is no coming to consciousness without pain, which was said by Carl Jung. Carl Jung understood something that our pharmaceutical industry does not. Pain is trying to tell you something. When you chronically silence the messenger, the message doesn't go away. It just gets louder in other ways. Chronic illness, autoimmune disease, addiction, depression that doesn't respond to medication, anxiety that doesn't make rational sense. These aren't random malfunctions. For so many people, and there's a growing body of research on this, these are stored, unprocessed pain signals living in the body, deep in the muscle, in the fascia. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk spent decades researching trauma and wrote the most important book on this, The Body Keeps the Score. His core finding: trauma isn't just a memory. It's a physiological imprint. It lives in your fascia, your nervous system, your gut. It becomes the body's operating system. You can't think your way out of it. You can't intellectualize it. You can't medicate your way out of it. You have to feel your way through it. And here's what's fascinating and honestly humbling, is that ancient wisdom traditions have known this for thousands of years. We didn't discover this. We forgot it. In Buddhism, one of the Four Noble Truths is the truth of suffering, dukkha. The Buddha's entire teaching begins not with the promise of happiness, but with an honest, unflinching acknowledgement that suffering exists, that life includes pain, and that the pain to liberation runs directly through that truth, not around it. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. Now, Rumi, the 13th century Sufi mystic, wrote a poem called The Guest House that I come back to again and again. He wrote about welcoming every emotion, grief, malice, sorrow, as a guest at the door of your being. He said to treat each one as an honored visitor because each one has been sent as a guide. A guide, not a villain, not a malfunction, a guide. In Taoism, there is this principle of Wu Wei, non-resistance. The Tao Te Ching teaches that water is the softest thing in the world, yet it carves through stone. Not by forcing, by yielding, by moving with, not against. Resistance creates suffering. Surrender, not giving up, but yielding to what is, that's where the flow lives. Indigenous healing traditions have known this too. Practices like the Lakota Sweat Lodge, the Vision Quest, grief rituals across African and Aboriginal cultures. These are not designed to make pain go away. They're designed to hold it, honor it, and let it complete its journey through you. We traded that wisdom for a prescription pad, and we're paying the price. Let's get specific for a second, because I think it helps to understand why this is so physical. When we experience something painful, emotionally, psychologically, our nervous system activates a threat response. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. The body mobilizes everything it has to survive. Now, in a healthy, regulated system, once the threat passes, the body completes the stress cycle. The lion runs away. You shake it off. Literally, animals do this. I do this too. And you return to baseline. But what happens when we short circuit the cycle? When we were children who weren't safe enough to cry, to scream, to shake, when we numbed with substances, distraction, or dissociation, when the adults around us said, "Stop crying, toughen up, you're fine," the activation doesn't complete. It gets stored. It goes into the body, into the fascia, which is the connective tissue that literally holds everything together, into the gut, into the jaw, the shoulders, the hips, the chest. Peter Levine, who developed somatic experiencing, describes trauma as incomplete biological responses. Your body got ready to do something, run, fight, protect itself, and never got to finish. So it keeps holding, waiting, braced. Trauma is not what happens to you. It is what happens inside you as a result of what happens to you. Dr. Gabor Maté, physician, trauma specialist, one of the most important voices in this space, talks about how unprocessed emotional pain is at the root of addiction, chronic illness, and autoimmune disease, not as metaphor, as physiology. Your body is not betraying you. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It stored what you couldn't process, and it will keep holding it until you're ready to feel it. I want to talk about surrender for a second, because I think it's one of the most misunderstood words in healing work. Surrender is not giving up. It is not weakness. It is not saying what happened to me was okay. Surrender is the act of stopping the fight against reality. It is the moment you say, this is what is. I'm not going to exhaust myself pretending otherwise, numbing otherwise, performing otherwise. There is a reason the 12-step tradition, flawed as it is in some ways, has one of its foundational steps as surrender. There's a reason so many spiritual traditions describe a dark night of the soul as the prerequisite to awakening. There's a reason shamanic initiation traditions involved deliberate contact with darkness, because the breakdown is often the breakthrough. When I finally stopped fighting my grief, when I let myself actually shake, actually sob, actually scream into a pillow, something moved. Something that had been locked behind an iron door for years finally had somewhere to go. And I didn't die. I didn't fall apart forever. I came out the other side more myself than I had been in years. The wound is where the light enters, not in spite of the pain, through it. Okay, so what does this actually look like in practice? Because I don't want this to just be beautiful philosophy that doesn't help you on a Wednesday when you're disassociating at your kitchen table. Leaning into pain does not mean wallowing. It does not mean re-traumatizing yourself. It does not mean white knuckling through memories alone in the dark. It means developing the capacity, slowly, with support, with safety, to be present with what is alive in you without immediately shutting it down. Some of that looks like somatic work, body-based practices that help you complete those incomplete stress cycles, somatic experiencing, emotional freedom technique tapping, breath work, trauma-informed yoga, done responsibly. Some of it looks like sitting with an emotion and naming it, not solving it, not analyzing it, not telling the story behind it. Just, I feel grief in my chest right now. It feels like a stone. I'm going to let it be a stone and breathe with it. It's affect labeling. Some of it looks like crying when you need to cry, moving when your body wants to move, saying the thing you've been too scared to say to a therapist, to a trusted friend, to a coach, to a mentor, or just to yourself. And a lot of it looks like building your window of tolerance, your capacity to hold difficult experiences without shutting down or flying off the rails. That window expands over time, but only if you practice being in it. You aren't trying to feel everything all at once. You are practicing the radical act of not running, avoiding, and numbing. Here is what I know to be true from my own life and from the wisdom of every tradition that has grappled seriously with what it means to be human. Pain that is felt is moved. Pain that is avoided is stored. And stored pain doesn't disappear. It accumulates interest. It becomes addiction and chronic tension and rage that fires at the wrong targets and numbness and disconnection and a life that feels like you're watching it through glass. But pain that you allow, that you run toward, that you breathe with, that you let shake your body or flood your eyes or tighten your throat and then release, that pain transmutes. It becomes information. It becomes wisdom. It becomes the exact raw material of your greatest compassion, your clearest sight, your most unshakable strength. This is what every alchemical tradition was pointing at. You cannot make gold from thin air. You start with the base metal, the lead, the darkness, and you work with it. Your suffering is not a sign that something has gone wrong with you. It is an invitation to go deeper than you've been willing to go before. And you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do it all at once. You just have to stop running. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. James Baldwin, devastating in the best way. Face it, feel it, let it move. That is the alchemy. That is the healing. That is the way through. Thank you for being here today. If this episode moved something in you, let it move. Don't rush to feel better. Sit with it. That's the work. If you're in a place where you're working through something heavy, please reach out to a trauma-informed practitioner. Please reach out to me or somebody else that can support you. This work is powerful and it's best done with support. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, all of yourself. And please make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on so you don't miss our next episode. I love you. Bye.